Hello, good morning, everyone. Um, thank you very much for having us today. I believe it's going to be a wonderful session today. With me, it's my colleague who is going to take the last part I'm going to touch on, which is Rabi. Can you please unmute and introduce yourself?
Um, Good morning, everyone. My name is Kabir Ibrahim, and I'm this call from Nigerian Exchange Limited. Can I go ahead and share my screen?
Oh, okay. Let me quickly share mine. Sorry.
All right, okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to come up with my video, but it's like I'm having some challenge with my camera. Hope it's okay. I'll try and see if I can bring it up as we speak.
No worries, Mr. Ibrahim.
All right. All right. So thank you once again for having us today. What we have is basically opportunities at the Nigerian capital market. I know a lot of people are much more familiar with the money market end of the financial market, but the capital market is there. We have, I can see a lot of startups coming up, introducing themselves. I believe what we are going to take you through today is going to be a journey, and we are going to find it worthwhile. Um, Actually, the Nigerian NGX, as we call it today, was formerly the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NSE. And we transformed from the Nigerian Stock Exchange to the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC in 2021 after we demutualized. We used to be a company limited by guarantee, and we are now a company limited by shares. This means that we can source for funding just like the startups with Collab can source for funding series A, B, C, but our funding form is in a larger form. So this means that we can venture into different businesses. We currently have about 3 subsidiaries. We have the Nigerian Exchange Limited. We have the Nigerian Exchange Regulation, NGX Regulation, and we have the Nigerian Exchange Real Estate. All these subsidiaries are under the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC. And then we are associate of Central Securities Clearing System and NG Clearing. All these are a sort of clearing and settlement arms of the Nigerian Exchange Limited. We have investment in them. The CSCS clears trading on equities and bond, while the NG Clearing clears trading on derivatives. Then we are also affiliated with FMDQ, financial market quotation dealers, and we also we have some investment in some fintechs. Just to show you how passionate the Nigerian Exchange Limited is on fintech. I think in 2018 we organized a hackathon where we challenged tech companies to come up with solutions that will attract more retail investors in the market. About 3 companies emerged winners, and as a result, we invested in them in exchange for equity in the business. As we speak now, very soon we are going to launch our technology board, which will house a lot of technology companies that will give them access to funding. We are going to discuss this later. Now, the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC is the foremost securities exchange in Africa. Currently, the market capitalization is at 62.2 trillion naira. That is to tell you the total value of all the securities, of all the shares, the bonds that are quoted and listed on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Think of the Dangotes, the MTNs, the the BUAs, the Zenith banks, all the banking sectors, I think of them, all of them, that's the total value of the shares that are quoted and listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited. We currently have about 156 equities that are listed on the floor of the exchange. We also have about 88 bonds, that's long-term debt, that is also listed on the floor of the exchange. And we also have about 11 ETFs, as well as about 4 derivatives that are currently trading on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Now, we have what we call the listing board. We have about 3 listing board. With the introduction of technology board that is coming up very soon, we are going to have about 4 listing boards. Currently, we have the main board, the premium board, and the growth board. And in September, we are going to launch our technology board. And in that case, we are going to have about 4 listing boards. What does this imply? For effective regulations and other compliance, Nigerian Exchange Limited is a member of World Federation of Exchanges. We are members of IOSCO. We are members of WACMI, West African Capital Market Initiative. We are members of Asia African Securities Exchanges Association. I think recently we have done, there's this initiative on linkages on trading on African stock exchanges, where stockbrokers in Nigeria will have access to Kenyan Stock Exchange or Johannesburg Stock Exchange to be able to trade their shares directly. This is on and it has been launched recently. Then we are also partners with London Stock Exchange, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and Casablanca Stock Exchange. Now, the environment we operate, Nigerian capital markets, this is a typical capital market ecosystem. This tells you the players in the market. We have first the Federal Ministry of Finance that provide fiscal policy and stability in capital markets and the overall economy, just like they provide fiscal policy and stability in the money market. So it is done in the capital market. And they have, there is Securities and Exchange Commission, whom it's federal government owned, just like the CBN to the banks. Before you start, you start doing business in the money market space, you need to have a license with Central Bank of Nigeria. This also implies here, if you want to start doing any business in the Nigerian capital market, you need to have your license with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So Securities and Exchange Commission is the apex regulatory body. It's wholly owned by the federal government. It's an agency of the government. Then we have the NGX. You can see us in green. We are more like a self-regulatory organization. But we have to register ourselves with SEC. They are our regulator, but we regulate the activities of some of our dealing members. Now we have the broker dealers. The broker dealers are key players in the capital market. Let me give you a simple example. Being a startup and you're looking for funding to boost your business, you cannot just come to the capital market and get funding. No, you need to be introduced by a stockbroker. Also, at an individual level as well, when you want to invest in MTN shares, you want to invest in Dangote flour, Dangote sugar, you need the service of a stockbroker. They are going to buy and sell on your behalf. Even myself, Arabi here, cannot just go into our trading flow and start buying shares on our behalf. No, we have to go through the stockbrokers. We train them, we give them license, and if there is any hanky-panky, we sanction them and even seize their license. Then we have the registrars. They keep record of all those that purchase securities of a particular company. When you raise, you're able to raise funding via issuance of debt or equity. In that case, the registrars will keep record of all those that invested in that particular bond or equity. Then we have the trustees. Trustees, they maintain asset on behalf of investors. I'm going to take you through that there are 2 different ways in which you can raise funding from the Nigerian capital market. It's either you borrow or rather you sell some part ownership. to the public and you generate those funds via our platform. So if you're only borrowing, then you need the service of a trustee who is going to manage payment of coupons and then payment at the end of maturity. Then we also have the issuers. The issuers, the moment you sign up today that, oh, I want to raise funding from the Nigerian capital market, and then you've followed different procedures and you're able to raise funding, you are automatically an issuer in the market. Then we also have a clearing and settlement by CSCS. This is a clearing and settlement arm that allows settle trading between banks, individuals, and the stockbrokers. Then we have the custodians. This is always because of the technology. If you want to invest if you are based in London and you want to invest in Nigeria, you need the service of a custodian. Or rather, if you're in Nigeria and you want to invest in London, you want to buy, say, the shares of Microsoft, Google, and then you need the service of a custodian. Even though now with technology, we have different applications that are being licensed by a Securities and Exchange Commission that you can, from the comfort of your seat, buy shares of Google, Microsoft, Tesla, anything you want to buy. Then we also have investors and other participants. So this is a typical capital market ecosystem. Now, how can the NGX support your business? How can the Nigerian Exchange Limited support your business needs? We have what we call the equity listings. By equity listings, we mean selling part ownership of your business in exchange for money, in exchange for funds to enable you expand, to enable you consolidate on some ongoing projects. And by this, you can create an exit strategy for legacy shareholders via the capital market. And the expected outcomes are greater efficiency in management, higher productivity and output, higher private sector participation, and increased financial transparency and corporate governance. And then you create an exit window to some strategic investors. Then there is also the debt issuance. Debt issuance here means borrowing. I know in the technology space, you find different funding options. You have venture capitals, you have private equity, and things like that. Also, at the Nigerian capital market or in the Nigerian Exchange Limited via our platform, you can borrow instead of you selling part ownership, selling equity, selling shares of your business. You can as well borrow some funding from the participants in the market, and this will enable you gather large sums without much strings attached, and no one is going to have control over ownership. Unlike when you sell equity, in that case, if I buy one single unit of the shares of your business, it means I am part owner of your business and I have a say, no matter how little it is in the business. Then there is also capacity development arm, which my colleague is going to at the end. Now, I want to deep dive more on the equity side. I mentioned earlier that if you decide that, oh, I have grown this far and I have some strategic investors, or rather I'm a one-man business, I'm a two-man business, but we need more people, we need more hands, we need more investment. Instead of you maybe to go for venture capital or rather a private equity investments, you can decide to say, okay, why not let me go public? And then for you to be able to do that via our platform, you can bring in your company via any of these windows: the growth board, the main board, and the premium board. Growth board is for small cap and growth oriented companies looking to raise capital and promote liquidity in the trading of their shares. While the main board is our founding board designed for well-established companies with a record of good accomplishment. Then we have the premium board. The premium board is for blue chip companies. Currently, we only have 8 companies on the board. They have their own requirement, and we have companies like MTN, Access Bank, First Bank, Zenith Bank, UBA, Seplat, Lafarge. All these companies are listed on our premium board. Why? Because their market capitalization, their investment is more than 200 billion and they have scored 70% on our corporate governance rating system. Now, these are the requirements. You can see the growth board has two segments, the entry and the standard segment. Under the entry segment, we are looking for medium businesses, standard segment, medium to established businesses, while the main board is for established corporates. The premium board is for largest companies. And for you to be able to raise equity, to raise funding via issuance of equity at the Nigerian capital market or via the platform of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, your company must be a PLC. You must convert your business from a limited liability company with corporate affairs to a public limited liability company. Then market capitalization. The entry segment of the growth board, you must have 50 million to 500 million naira, while standard segment 500 million to 4 billion. While under the main board, you must have an investment of 4 billion to 200 billion naira, while the premium board is 200 billion naira and above. Then there are some other requirements that is required. The public float. That means you should be ready as a business holder, as a startup, or as a business to let go of 10% of your ownership. 10% ownership, and that 10% must go to a minimum of 25 shareholders. That's under the growth board entry segment. While under the standard segment, you must let out, that is what we want. You can do up to 50. But what we want at the exchange is that we want you to let out 15% ownership and to a minimum of 51 shareholders. Then on the growth board, you let out 20% ownership to the public to a minimum of 300 shareholders. The same thing with the main board, premium board. Then you are expected to submit annual and semi-annual reports on the growth board segment, while on the main board and premium board, you are expected to submit quarterly, annually, and semi-annual reports. And we also offer some support services to growth board if at discounted rates. If you decide that today I want to find myself in the growth board entry segment and you have some deficiencies, or rather you are thinking of the costs, and then we have some value-added service providers that will offer you those services at discounted rates. Now, why list? What are the major reasons companies list, and what are the benefits? Companies find it attractive to get listed on the floor of the exchange. One of the most important one is what we call the business continuity and transgenerational transfer of wealth. You start your business as a one-man business. You've grown into partnership, from family to partnership, and other investment from other people. We want your business to outlive you. And then we have companies at the exchange that are more than 100 years. Think of Nestle, think of flour mills. We have all these companies that have grown more than the founders of the business. When you do your background check, you observe that it is the grandchildren that are running the business. So what is happening here is that when you are doing equity, you are preparing your business to outlive you. And if you put your business in order and you're responding via equity and you continue to comply, do good businesses, believe you me, your business is going to outlive you. We keep on expanding from one level to another. Then you have access to deep investor pool at the exchange. If not for now that the dollar has been the dollar exchange rate before it was unified, a lot of foreign investors have shied away from the Nigerian capital market. You observe that majority of investors in our market are foreigners. But when there was no unification of dollar, the domestic investors, because we believe in the market, dominated the market. So you can have different people who have believe in the type of business you are doing to invest in your business. Then you have recognition in a global and international markets. All listed companies have what we call ISIN number, International Standard Identification Number. Then you can also create an exit route to strategic investors. When you started your business, you have given some equity or rather some portion to one or two persons, family members, friends, or rather even an outsider. And he wants to exit that business. Instead of you to put your hands on the working capital, you can easily having allotted some ownership to him, he can get listed on the floor of the exchange and he will trade his shares and exit quietly. Then ability to incentivize key employees' commitment, optimal price discovery, greater brand profile and visibility. This visibility is key. Your company is going to be visible, and then you have a very good brand profile. Having you observe that we have one of the value-added providers we have, the media, and they haven't seen what your business is doing. They might deep dive, have a good research, and bring it to the fore of the public, and you'll be surprised at the type of interest people will be having in your business and how they will be investing. And there's also transparency and credibility. You will have that. Then there's also liquidity. Now, as the owner of the business, or rather, if I invest in your business and I cannot trade my shares, I cannot trade my own portion, there is no liquidity. But if you list that company on the exchange, I'll be able to trade, buy more, sell, and things like that. And then you have a very good corporate governance, because all quoted companies are expected to adhere strictly to good corporate governance. Now, here are some concerns. A lot of companies are shying away to give or sell their equity, to sell their shares, because they are afraid they might lose control. And we say it doesn't happen that way. We used to see hash takeover from private equity investors, venture capitalists, but it doesn't happen that way at the exchange. At the exchange, all that is required, you can see, is just you sell just 20% maximum on the main board, while a 10% minimum on the growth board. And you retain 80%, you retain 90% of ownership. And in that case, no one is going to control your business. Fear of sharing profit. Profit are being shared by shareholding at specific intervals. So whatever happens, if you have 80%, 60% of your business, you have more of that profit coming to you. Then we have fear of losing value due to poor market depth and liquidity. Also, we always advise companies that, please, when you're coming to the market, when you're coming to raise funding via issuance of equity, you can decide, make sure you do proper valuation. Don't overvalue your business or undervalue your business. Make sure you do a proper valuation. And one very good thing about the exchange is that not necessarily, for example, I mentioned earlier that some will just be looking for exit route. They don't actually need funding, but they have shareholders, and they are not providing liquidity to those shareholders, or rather, they have shareholders that want to exit. Or instead of them to be picking funds from the working capital, they can easily list, get them exit the business quietly without having to put their hands in the working capital. So we have different types of listings. You can do what we call listing by introduction. You can do what we call an IPO, initial public offer, where you invite a lot of people to come and invest. While listing by introduction, you only list your business with the hope that maybe subsequently you're coming to do bond, or rather you're coming to raise more funding. But at that moment that you are doing listing by introduction, you're not raising any fund. You are only listing to provide liquidity, as well as to create an exit route and also be visible in the market. Then we also have fear of associated costs. In this case, this has been reduced to say 2.8 to 3% of the total value. Assuming you want to raise £1 billion, that's the total value. It's just 3.2% of that 1 billion naira that it's going to cost you to be able to access funding from the market. Then there is also fear of much enhanced disclosure, and we say these are statutory. Then if I invest in your business, I want to see what is happening in that business. There is also fear of additional regulatory requirements. As we speak now, we are working together with some exchanges to see how you'll be able to list seamlessly in Dubai financial markets, or rather in Johannesburg Stock Exchange or in London Stock Exchange. This is ongoing, and as we move along, all these developments will be keeping in touch and be letting you know on the progress. So this is very important. I showed you earlier that we have 3 listing board. And I said that we are going to launch our technology board in come September. So this is how our market structure will look like when the technology board is being launched. You can see the premium board, main board, the growth board has two segments, standard and startups, while the technology board is for big tech companies, large technology companies, and the startup tech board. And you can migrate from one big tech board to startup tech board, or rather startup tech board to big tech board. So now, why the technology board? Having seen that a lot of tech companies are finding it very difficult to raise funding, or rather they've have a series A, B, C, and things like that. They are matured, and then we now saw that there is a lot of capital flights, having foreign private equity investors coming into. Why not tap the available funding in the Nigerian capital markets? And that was why the technology board was in the initiative was brought to the fore. And then it has the following requirement. As you can see, technology which will be characterized by high growth oriented technology companies in various stages of capital formation, series A to C, and are at the forefront of innovation and technological disruption. The tech board will be closed board, only accessible to qualified institutional investors that understand the business, sectorial dynamics, and risk appetite of the technology ecosystem and board. The technology board will comprise of two segments, the big tech board and the startup tech board. Now, this is the framework and the listing requirement for the technology board. We have light regulations, unlike the main board, growth board, and the regulations are light. Then we must have a technical partner when you are just a startup. If you're a big tech company, you don't need an anchor, or rather a technical partner. Then your company must be a public limited liability company, or rather, you can decide to create an SPV PLC or a holdco structure. Maybe you have our three companies under you. You can do just the NGX Group PLC. We have about 3 subsidiaries, but only the group is listed. You can do all that. Then listings will be directly with a close period of 9 to 12 months. You can directly, or rather we call it in listing, directly list your company. And then you can also as well access capital. Then there is no profitability test. Unlike the main board, the premium board, and the growth board, you must undergo what we call the profitability test and dividend payout test. But in the technology space, on the technology board, you will not undergo any profitability test. Then you have access to capital also. Then the market capitalization is about 400 million to 4 billion naira. That's for startups. While for the big tech companies, it's about 4 billion and above. Then there is also flexible shareholding structure. You find out that a lot of companies we want to inject a tech company want to inject their capital more, their profits more. They want to plow it back into the business. So that means you can have dual class structure. You have this one is for the owners, while this one is for the general public. You are allowed. Then your company must have a minimum 12 months operating track record. You must start your business within the first 12 months before you be eligible to be listed on the technology board. And unlike on the growth board and the main board, you must have a minimum of 2 years up to 4 years operational track record. Then you are expected to submit quarterly and annual reports. So these are some of the requirements, and these are some of the objectives of why the technology board. It will make you visible, transparency and visibility on tech investment activities. Your company is going to be visible. You attract a lot of investors that believe in the type of business you run, the type of business you do. And now, all this tech board high growth projections and the major investor concerns. Tech companies tend to operate with lean model, and so they can't keep up with the levels of reporting traditional investors are accustomed to. The Nigerian Exchange Limited aim to solve this problem by introducing quarterly and full year reporting. Instead of you to say, okay, quarterly, annually, semi-annually, and we are providing this solution through providing of quarterly and full year reporting. Then valuation. Traditional investors are not particularly savvy in valuing tech companies. Some investors see the valuation of tech companies as unrealistic, and this prevents them from investing funds. The Nigerian Exchange Limited aims to solve this through investor education and a one-year close period, which allows investors gain insight on the startup performance. A lot of investors don't understand how tech companies operate, but we allow them and give them this chance. Then dividend. A lot of tech companies are still in their early stages and would prefer to reinvest profits rather than pay them. Capital market investors are accustomed to dividend paying stock. We are solving for this with the dual class share structure. So all these are good projections, what we intend to do to ensure that we've covered the technology companies. This is just a technology board comparison with other, like in China, in London, in Israel, and Singapore. They all have the special technology board. And you can see, unlike in other jurisdictions, you must have 300 shareholders. At the exchange, if your company has met up with the necessary requirements and you are just two as shareholders in the business, you'll be eligible to bring in your company, raise funding on the capital market via issuance of equity on the technology board. Now, this is how our board will look like when we launch our technology board. Now, this is just our NGX fee structure. You can see the flat fee of 5.7 million naira for the startup board, while for big tech board, standard listing fee 0.25%, capped at 400 million naira. While if you have some deficiencies on corporate governance, your structure, that will be 0.1% of market capitalization. All these are other fees on our listings on bond and other equities. Now, this is just an abridged how. Now, having listened to us, maybe you've planned in the next 2-3 years, I want to see myself at the exchange. And then these are the process. You start your consultation from now on, put in your strategy, or rather, if you are already ready, we are good to go. You just consult your board, discuss, and you have your mandate as the second thing to go on with the listing process. You appoint an FA, and FA will now ask you to do some documentation. After all those documentation are gone through, then you receive approval. You send an request for approval from NGX and SEC. Then completion of board meeting, distribution and marketing will start. Then listing, an allotment of shares undertaken, and the listing will take over. This is just an abridged form of the listing process. Now, I want to touch summarily on this. Remember, there are two ways in which you can source funding from the capital market. You can raise funding via issuance of long-term debt, that's bond, or you can raise funding via issuance of equity, selling part ownership of your business. Now, with bond, you can finance projects, bridge short-term liquidity gaps, provide working capital, and refinancing existing debt. Maybe you already have a loan, and it's a short-term loan you borrowed from the bank, which is just 1 year, and you roll over. And you have some potential and you want to extend that. You can borrow funding, having met the necessary requirement from the capital market, and then extend, refinance that existing debt, and then have time to pay, because you can borrow in the Nigerian capital market from 3 up to 10 years, up to 20 years. We have companies that are raising funding, borrowing money from the market for 20 years. And then it has cheaper interest rate or profit rates. If you are doing a conventional bond, then you need to pay interest. If you are doing the sukuk, which is in line with Sharia norm, then you pay profit. Then we have freedom to raise money with no strings attached. and no effect on ownership. Unlike in equity, if I buy just 10 units of the shares of your company, I am a part owner, even though I have a minute shareholding. Then there is flexibility. You can do green bond. If you are into green tech initiative, you can raise the green bond and finance that project. Now, these are some fundraising in the capital markets recently. And I think I'm done here. I will allow my colleague to round up this final slide so that we'll now give room for questions and answers. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Kabir. Thank you everyone on this call. So Kabir has said quite a lot about equities and debts. That's the listing parts of the exchange. So apart from listings and fundraising, we have other aspects of the exchange. We have the X Academy. The X Academy is basically a learning center at Nigerian Exchange. This center is responsible for providing trainings on capital market, financial ecosystem, and human capacity development services to individuals and corporates in Nigeria and also abroad. We have over 35 years of training experience, and we cover a wide range of courses. We cover courses like listing, trading, and investing. We have market development and other courses, as you can see on your screen. There's the pre and post listing requirements. We have the investment education, corporate governance, technology innovation, corporate sustainability and responsibility, third-party education. These courses are just based on, the needs of a particular organization or an individual. So if there are, gaps within an organization that you work with, or an organization that you head, so you can always reach out to us and say, okay, we are interested in so and so trainings, especially if you are choosing, okay, the listing routes is something you want to explore, in the near future. So just to familiarize yourself with, the process, you can go for this NGX pre or post listing requirements. We also have investment education. Okay, maybe it's for a personal use, or even for the organization, you can, do investment education just to equip employees with in-depth knowledge of instruments or products being listed to enable them understand, the implications, benefits, risks, and also just to, be a part of the investment space, just have a knowledge of what is happening, so that you can invest wisely. So we have different aspects, different sessions that are available. We do the face-to-face, we have a lead virtual online trainings. So what face-to-face does basically means, the physical trainings. So our head office actually is in Lagos. So if you are interested in any, or maybe you're in Lagos anytime, or you feel like, okay, an organization wants to engage in a training, and you would like to travel for that training, you can always come down to Lagos and join any of our trainings. We also do virtual, you can join online. So we also have the customized kind of trainings whereby we might not have that specific course that you need available. So we can, sit together and come up with something that will, be very beneficial to you. So we also have our X Academy calendar, which we publish every year, which contains a list of trainings that we carry out throughout the year, at different dates and times. Also, of course, at a cost. So everything there is listed on our X Academy calendar. This X Academy calendar is available on our website. You can always, go there, ngx.com, to just check, the website out, and also, our the learning center and the trainings available. And if there are, of course, any other questions or concerns or just anything you would love us to help with, you can always reach out to I or Kabir, for anything or any assistance you might need. That's all for the X Academy, and that's all from me. Thank you very much. So over to you, Kolab.
All right, thank you so much to the NJX for such an amazing session. It was truly insightful. Thank you, Kabir. Thank you, Rabi. So I just noted a couple of questions down. So like, what are the things that you typically look out for, when you want to invest in startups? Maybe people that want to maybe list on the NSE, what are the things that you typically look out for? Maybe their books, or maybe is it that maybe you're looking for like some specific solution or some specific business? Are there specific things that you look out for when investing?
Thank you very much. Actually, the Nigerian Exchange Limited doesn't actually invest in startups. What we do, Nigerian Exchange Limited is a platform. We have a lot of investors that are ready to invest in those startups. So it's an organized kind of platform that that have a lot of pool of investors that are ready to invest in a particular company. And one very good thing you mentioned of the books, this is very key. Your books are going to be looked into, and that is why at all times when we discuss with startups, we inform or tell them that please make sure you have your accounts being audited, because these are the things that investors will look at and see the type of business you do and offer. All these things need to be in place. And one very important thing is that I will share with you, we have some key financial advisors in the market whom are very good. We call them, they are very good with, they know the workings of the tech space, and can give assistance to any tech startup or other established tech company that is ready to raise funding from the capital market. So these financial advisors are like your eyes and ears. They will hold your hand from the beginning of the process till the end of the process. You'll be able to enable you access some funding. So books, as you mentioned, are one of the things. The types of idea, maybe the types of profits, looking at maybe what you have generated, or you are going to do, the type of project. All these things are being looked into. And as I mentioned earlier, the Nigerian Exchange Limited does not actually invest in those companies. We create that platform where we have pool of investors, both foreign and domestic, and they will invest in your business. And you need to have a financial advisor. Either you are borrowing, or rather, if you are investor, you are doing equity. You must have a financial advisor who will hold your hand, bring you to the market, tell you to do this, put this together, and things like that. Hope this answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Mr. Kabir. I don't know, does anyone else have any questions to ask? If you can just unmute your mic and speak, or you can type it in the chat and then we would respond.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. My name is Abdul Razak. I have just a question. So from your explanation on the market capitalization, which is between 50 to 500 million, so is it safe to say funding and investment is not really for startup in Nigerian sense? Because I'm looking at the statistics. So is there a way that NGS do nurture businesses, probably through training, so that they can get up to that 15 million market capitalization?
This is very important, Abdurazak. Thank you very much for this question. I forgot to mention that having reduced all these requirements at a growth about 50 million to 500 million, we still observe that startups find it very difficult to get listed. So currently we are working on another board called the Elite Network. The Elite Network will handhold companies and train them, groom them. We are even thinking that maybe that elite network, companies will have access to maybe just a very few amount of funding, maybe small amount of funding from that. While maybe if you don't have board, you are going to be on the elite network and maybe raise, say, maybe you don't have your market capitalization is not up to 50 million, but you have good business to run, and maybe you don't have board, but your business looks promising. Then with due diligence, we can allow you come to the elite network. As you are on the elite network, we provide you with just small amount of funding. Investors will invest, and being on the elite network for at least a year or 1.5 years, by then you must have had your board in place. You must maybe even if you must have meet up with your market capitalization. Then we now migrate you to the growth board or a startup tech listing. So we have this is also in the pipeline. I understand where you are coming from. We used to have a lot of this agitation from clients we engaged that, oh, even with 50 million, some companies will find it very difficult to invest, to maybe raise funding from the capital market. But this elite network, we believe, is going to solve this. And we are sure before the end of the year, we are going to bring this elite network. And just as we have done this via collab, we'll still go back and let them know that the elite network is on for companies to be able to tap into it. I hope this is okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really love this.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, Aaron, go ahead. You have your hand raised.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So my question is, does listing on the NGX affect me getting other investors, or if it doesn't, like, how does that play out? Can I be listed on NGX and still go to source for funding from other investors?
Of course, you can do that. Let me give you an instance. I don't want to mention Dangote, but I need to mention him. You know, when Dangote bought the investment, he brought the shares of the company and get them listed. And then subsequently, he now have investors from Dubai wanting to invest. That will getting listed. That will make it very simple. You already have your shares, and even if you are going into any partnership, all you need to do is to inform the exchange. And if you are doing it in form of shares, or maybe you want to do what we call block divestment, this is very simple. You can also do that, and you just inform the exchange, or rather, it will be very seamless. About the Dubai investors bought 5% in Dangote Cement. So all these things are done, and when you are listed on the exchange, the opportunities are limitless. Why? Because you can do what we call the rights issue. You can decide to offer shares to only existing shareholders. You can do an IPO. You can do offer for sale. Different opportunities, depending on what you want to do. Even if it is merger, are you merging with any foreign company? Are they interested? All these things are there. You'll be able to do them. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kabir. Let me go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I have a few questions to ask. My first question is, if I want to list, or if I have a company and I want to list, because I was trying to go through the website, didn't get the clarity of how to get started. So how do I start? That is the first question. Another question is, let's say there's a company exists on the exchange and I want to invest, how do I go about it too? So my third question is about the technology board that is just coming on. how do we really take advantage of this? Because it's one of those, technology now is an area that is interesting, especially to with the young people, and maybe there are other measures put in place for us to be able to harness this opportunity. So my last question is the slide for the presentation, if we can get it. Thank you.
Yes, you definitely get the slide with Naomi, and I know she's going to share it with you. For the first one, on how to begin listings, I think
Yes.
with starting listing, as we normally used to say, that is not a rocket science. Having seen all this, we are going to share this document with you, along with other listing guide, other documents to enable you go through. So one very important thing, as I mentioned, is that you need to have a financial advisor whom is registered and knows the market very well. We have a lot of them, about 100 or so, but we can give you some 2-3 lists for you to choose from. What we normally do is, for example, having seen assessing yourself now, you go back home, do your due diligence. Okay, I've met this requirement, I've met this requirement. Okay, you can decide to ask us for like 3 names of financial advisors, and we now give you. All you need to do is to tell them that, oh, you want to do equity, and you want them to give you a proposal on how this is done, or how it will be done, and the timing and the costs. So if these 2 or 3 financial advisors give you this, you now sit down and look at it, and they will give you different options. They will say, okay, if you are ready, maybe you can do a private placement, or maybe you can do an IPO, you can do offer for sale. This largely depends on the documents you are able to provide to them, because they will require you to provide your annual account statement. So what we normally advise is that when you're coming to the market, maybe as a startup, and you don't want to incur more costs, first and foremost, put your house in order. I haven't shared this requirement with you and other documents. You will see all the requirements. Okay, you tick the box. I have my audited account. I have my board. My market capitalization is intact. I have converted to a PLC, or maybe I have created, you use your lawyer to go to corporate affairs. You have done all this. You have reduced the cost. But rather, if you didn't do any of this, and you are to appoint a financial advisor, then he's going to charge you for doing all this, as well for his service as a financial advisor. You understand? So the major thing is to appoint a financial advisor, or rather put your house together, having looked at the requirement, then appoint a financial advisor. Then when you receive your board approval, the process will continue. The financial advisor will be your ears and eyes. Even ourselves, we only be getting in touch with you to give you a push, and then get in touch with the financial advisor to give him a push to ensure that the transaction is being done. Now, on the second one, if you want to invest in the market, it's simple. All you need to do is to identify a registered stockbroker. We have an app on Google Play Store, or yes, on Play Store, named X Mobile. X Mobile, you see it there, and when you are using it, you see where they will say, okay, buy shares. It will link you directly with different stockbrokers, and you choose the one you prefer. We have a lot of stockbrokers in the market. All you need to do, identify a good stockbroker, have your own objectives. What type of investor are you? Are you the long-term investor, short-term investor? Are you confident with risk, or you are risk averse? Things like that. And all the stockbroker is going to ask you all those questions, and then will allow you do your choosing, or rather, if you are giving him the go ahead, he will go ahead and buy any type of share you want him to buy for you. Then the last one, I think the third question on how you take the opportunity on technology board. Technology board, the reason we are going to do it with a pilot launching, that is why actually we did not launch it, even though this political wind has slowed us down. But is coming with a pilot launching. We have some big tech companies that are ready and they are in the pipeline. As we launch it that day, we are launching it with a technology, maybe one or two listings on the technology board. So maybe from their examples, from their lessons, you'll be able to drive and see how you drive your own listing journey as well. Thank you. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much, Kabir. I don't know, does anyone else have any more questions to ask? Any other questions? I mean, you can just unmute your mic if you want to say something. Let me look through the chat as well. But then just in case you missed anything, this session is recorded. And so we are going to be posting on YouTube shortly. So you can also go back. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and then I'll reach out to Kabir or Rabi to answer the questions for you. If they're okay, Barakat, you want to say something?
Sorry, I was lost against my network. So
okay,
maybe I will have to follow with the record. I didn't
that's
get
fine.
the last part of my question, but maybe I will go through the record later.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. I would definitely share that with you as soon as it's ready.
Okay, but please, the slide and the other requirements, are you sharing with us through email or how?
Yes. Will you share your slides and the requirements to my mail, and then I'll share to everyone else?
Yes. As soon as we are through, just share it immediately.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So once Kabir does that, I will send you a mail with everything.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No worries. Anybody else with any questions, concerns? Okay. In the absence of none, thank you so much, Kabir. Thank you so much, Rabi, for your time. We deeply appreciate this. It was very insightful, very helpful also. It's good to always sort of like see the perspective from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We'll be reaching out again. We have a wider ecosystem event that's coming up on the 29th of July. We'll be having almost all the technology ecosystem from Kaduna would be joining that event. We will communicate where and how that event is going to hold, and we'll keep you updated. So thank you so much for your time, and have a fantastic weekend ahead. Bye.